Okay. Good morning, everyone. Sorry, we're having a little bit of load shedding on Westville campus, and we do understand there are many students from Westville campus, so please bear with us. In fact, I'm sitting at Sneer's laptop. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Welcome to the Tech Talk hosted by the School of Mathematics, Stats, and Computer Science, specifically the discipline of computer science. As you all know, my name is Leena Rajpal, and I'm the PR representative for the College of Agriculture, Engineering, and Science. I want to thank you all for joining us today. Most importantly, I want to thank our guests from CSIR who have taken time to come and present to our students. I would just like to mention a few house rules for the program. Firstly, the event is recorded. In terms of complying with the POPIA Act, kindly note that we will use the information for publishing purposes. Should you not want your information to be published, kindly email your concerns to rajpal@ukzn.ac.za. During the course of the event, all attendees will be muted with their video switched off. If you have any questions during the presentations, kindly post them in the chat box facility that's available. During the Q&A session, the presenter will give you a chance to ask your questions. Please raise your hand so that the tech person can identify you and allow you to pose your questions. If by any chance attendees interfere with the presentations, we will note your details and remove you from the event. Finally, all the recordings and presentations will be posted on the CAES website. Without much more time taken, I would now like to hand over to Dr. Gwetu, who is the discipline leader from the discipline of computer science. Sorry, including my entire thing has been messed up with the load shedding. So I'm hoping you're not experiencing this, Mandla. So I'd like to hand over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leena. Welcome everyone to this episode of the Computer Science Tech Talks, and it's facilitated in partnership with our college, the College of Agriculture, Engineering and Science, the PR office there. Today we host one of the significant players in the South African and African research and innovation sector. They are proactive in ensuring that the country and the continent is stimulated towards intellectual property and homegrown scientific solutions. To do this, I would believe there's a need of lots of customized software, technical infrastructure. We hear these days of Internet of Things, and this is just one other great institution that has in the past offered our students, UKZN students, employment opportunities and lots of bursaries. I'm grateful for that. They have come with representatives today to speak to you, our students, about opportunities that they have on offer and how to access them. They've also come to share of their expertise and experiences, particularly in the field of IoT and its application to startups. I'd like to say welcome to our students. Please enjoy today's Tech Talk, which is meant to empower and inspire you. Please post questions in the chat box, which will be monitored, and we'll try to answer as many questions as possible. Towards the end of the talk, the students will be unmuted so that they can get a chance to pose live audible questions. I encourage all our students to interact with our guests via these facilities that have been made available to you. In the first part of today's talk, we will hear from Dr. Ntsibane Ntlatlapa, from C4IR, which is a program within CSIR, followed by Ms. Angela Shumba, who will give us an overview of C4IR and student opportunities there. Then we'll have Katlego, Ramonai, who will explain what CSIR is and showcase student opportunities there. Without further ado, I will now hand over you to our doctor. Thank you so much, Dr. Ntlatlapa. Over to you.
All right, thanks, Mandla. I'll have my camera on shortly. I just want to make sure that I can have my presentation shared first.
Thank you so much, Doc.
Okay. I am not sure whether it's the presentation is showing. Is it showing?
Yes, we can see your presentation.
Okay.
Not yet in the slideshow, but we can see it.
Is it not in slideshow?
No, no.
Okay, so that's something has not gone right then. Let me stop sharing. My apologies. I don't usually use Zoom, so it usually give me a little bit of troubles every time I use Zoom. Can you let me know whether it has gone to the
yes
slideshow? It has gone to slideshow.
Yes, thank you so much.
All right. Okay. Okay, no, thanks. Yeah, maybe the next thing is to unmute my, is to show my face, which I'm struggling to also find the button to do that. Great, now I found it.
Great.
Great. So that's, yeah, good morning all. Today, what I would just like to share would be a few discussion on the IoT, and if you allow us, maybe there could be a few questions just towards the end. Maybe they can start to put them on the chat. The reason I'm saying that is that just before we started here, I just received a call that there's something that I need to attend urgently. So if the questions were to come after all the presentations, I might not be in the call. So as a start of my discussion here, I just want to just highlight to the context of, the overall context of what we have as the C4IR. And I'm not going to go into what the center does because my colleague is going to do that, but I'm just going to talk more on the context of why it's important for us to be looking at the Internet of Things and looking at the use cases that we can have in the Internet of Things. So the overall context, I will just start more where we talk about what the C4IR means, and this is the subject of our center. The general understanding of what C4IR is, and I quoted the World Economic Forum. Most of the people use the World Economic Forum definition, which covers that it's basically the industry characterized by the fusion of these technologies, these spheres, physical, digital, biological spheres, for better and sustainable economic, socio-economic development. Now that's what WEF says around that. And WEF continues to classify the technologies that are driving the C4IR into 4 categories. Some that purely extend the digital technologies, which would be basically the third industrial revolution, making sure that you now extend those, and Internet of Things appears in them. You have blockchain and digital ledger, and you have the quantum computing as the technologies that are then extending what we have as a digital technologies now. The next one start to talk about where you reform the physical world, and artificial intelligence appears there, and this one is also included with the robotics as well. Now, where artificial intelligence appears there, it's obviously you start to understand that the definition of artificial intelligence, the broader definition would be to make the machines behave like humans, and humans live in the physical world. They do tasks like manufacturing, and they do the thinking, they drive cars, they do all of those. And those are things that are beginning to, you get the digital world is being integrated into those to do the tasks that are ordinarily done by human beings. And we have other things like advanced materials and additive manufacturing, as well as multidimensional printing. Now you have those that starts to go into a different terrain and alter the human being. So the artificial intelligence augment those and take over certain activities in the way that human beings do them. The next category alters how the human beings behave, like biotechnologies, neurotechnologies. They can actually start to alter the behavior of the human beings. We now have the concepts of metaverse and getting new from the normal world into some other realities, which are powered mainly by the virtual and augmented realities. Then the final ones are those that are integrating the environment, which includes the energy capture and transmission, geoengineering, and space technologies. Now, this is how the World Economic Forum captures what C4IR is. And as a center, we, in a sense, closer to this, but also incorporated what the South African conditions dictates that our development should be. Now, there's another terminology that is being used that is closely linked with the C4IR, and that will be Industry 4.0. And by the way, the Industry 4.0 as a terminology started to be used before WEF could coin the fourth industrial revolution terminology. The Industry 4.0 was already there, and it was coined in Germany in 2011, where the issue was, you know, we are going into the next revolution of the industry. So it focuses a lot more on the industrial applications. And it fosters what is now called the smart factory, where critically you would have the Internet of Things, and then you integrate the Internet of Things with the communication system and see how they cooperate with human beings in making sure that they can be able to apply in many industries. So this is the way that the initial thinking around the Industry 4.0. And basically these things tend to be used interchangeably. In the way that we use them at the C4IR, we use them differently. We use the terminology of the 4IR as an overall area, and then within that, we have the Industry 4.0. We also capture what we can call data-driven digital economy as a separate thing from Industry 4.0. And all of those things, we cover them under the umbrella of the 4IR. So the other one that is typically used there would be, you know, the digitalization, and the digital transformation, which basically are linked. You start from the digitization, you move things from paper into digital. You probably might know that the Home Affairs is employing a number of graduates to convert a lot of the information that they have on paper into the digital format. That's the digitization. And we get into the next stage where it's digitalization, and other people start to use automation in place of digitalization, but it's how you streamline the digital processes to improve your efficiency. And this is where we focus currently now. The next thing is to unlock new value by innovating of existing product and processes, to create whole new value propositions through the use of technologies. Now, this is going well beyond what you could do currently. So this is the one that comes from the ITU, but if you look at the areas, the technologies that they cover, it's almost exactly the same ones, because they also cover the big data, 5G, cloud computing, Internet of Things, and artificial intelligence. It doesn't go as far as the WEF definition of the C4IR in terms of the digital transformation from the ITU side. So what I want to just cover here is that, having given this particular context, and you start to chew a little bit into, you get to digital transformation. Some people talk about that in the same place as internet, as the same place as C4IR, and sometimes in place of Industry 4.0. But you can see how those are related and who uses those. So when I go into this use case catalog, I'm gonna just sample a few. I won't talk to all of them, and we'll share the slides and you can go through those and then maybe engage with us after that. But I'll sample a few of those. But before I do that, what I want to do is just now to delve into the definitions around the IoT, and there is a definition that the ITU has done around the IoT as a global infrastructure for information society, enabling those advanced services there. And it's in the recommendation ITUT 2016. Now we can provide this as a CSIR. We are an academic member of the ITU, so we have access to this. If there is an interest for you to get understanding of these ITU things, we can make them available. But an interesting one came from the UK regulator, where they made sure that they wanted to make a difference between M2M, machine-to-machine communication, as well.
Hello, doctor. I'm not sure if you can still hear me, but we seem to have lost you.
I see that I may have been disconnected. I can hear you now, but I think I was disconnected briefly. But can you hear me?
Sure. Yes, we can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay, can I just, I think I need to reshare my screen. Can you see the screen now?
Yes, we can see the screen exactly where you left off. Yes.
Okay, all right. So I am in load shedding, so that's why we keep having some of these disruptions. So what I also wanted to highlight is if you look at the picture there, that comes from Cisco, which puts together the different types of technologies in what they call Internet of Everything and Everyone. But it starts to make a difference between the services that are person to person, things like the mobile money and others are person to person, and they're not classified as part of the Internet of Things. But those that are more machine to person, where you can monitor your water pumps, you can monitor your electricity and so on. Those are then part of the Internet of Things, as well as those are purely machine to machine, that where the machine can aggregate data and actually make the decisions on their own. So those are there, but outside that, you still have big data beyond the use of the Internet of Things, but there is an overlap. So I think this is just the three types of definition. You have the Cisco there, you have the regulator, and then you have the International Telecommunications Union. And by the way, maybe I have to explain why ITU is quite important in this particular discussion. International Telecommunications Union is probably one of the oldest, if not the oldest, UN agency that was established to coordinate spectrum decisions across the world and allocate who should use which part of spectrum, with the understanding that you have to standardize that because spectrum does not respect borders. So if there's something like that, you have to have an international body that does that. That's what they started, but they are now doing more things. But at the beginning of the ITU, it was more about coordinating the spectrum use. So where they have classified different uses of IoT, they looked at them according to this, the services, and financial services is on top there. In my experience, that is the one that has actually been used quite a lot, where you start to look at them. In fact, in terms of the digital technologies, they use these technologies much more than many others. And you can see that is the ones that have been there, the ones that are current, that are being used now. And then you further do the predictions. Those are the ones that are upcoming. And their impact is either high, medium, or low. And you can see the blue ones are mostly those that will be the things that would be used in future. So that's where there's a lot of opportunities to get new people and who can actually start the companies and provide those particular services in those. So it's around those different services that you can find in there. So we will look further at others that maybe have gone into other sectors that are not there in the ITU. The other company that does this is called IoT Analytics. So IoT Analytics is one of these international consulting companies that do this analysis, and they publish the reports, but they do sell these reports. So that's part of their business model. So what they did an analysis of about 48 use cases and did a survey of many different companies that are adopting those. And as you can see there on the screen, they show the global adoption, that the biggest adoption of the IoT at this particular point is the remote asset management and monitoring. It's purely the monitoring aspect, where you simply get the information from the sensors and then you can be able to monitor those. The process automation is beginning to get there, is lower than that. But in terms of the investment over the next 2 years, it's expected that most investment is going to go into this process automation. And I think we are beginning to see more and more stories of those coming from the US, in Asia, as well as in Europe. The other ones is asset monitoring, where you can then actually now start to engage with that, as opposed to just read only. And a few of those that we have on the table that we have there. I want to just highlight that the predictive maintenance is becoming one of those that are increasing in terms of the investment. It's not really being used a lot now, but I think we are beginning to pay attention to it. And in fact, as a center, we have, in a sense, prioritized a process towards predictive maintenance as one of the important use cases. So, you have highlighted, you have seen that asset tracking is one of those, use cases that are high on the agenda, and it does appear from the ITU side, and it does also appear from that slide from IoT Analytics. And just maybe to give a little bit of a brief, is mainly just to track the tools along the production processes for better, order management. And this is in the manufacturing space. When you are dealing in the manufacturing space, and you look at the tools that you have, and those tools would be tagged through that, and the information of how they are being used, get captured throughout the whole process into the database and get into the cloud. And the managers can start to see how the tools are being utilized. Obviously, from the management perspective, some of these tools are very important and some of them are not necessarily that expensive, but they are quite important and sometimes they disappear. And once a specific tool disappears, it disrupts the production that you have. So one of the KPIs that we use for that is overall equipment effectiveness, how it's really being used. So you can see the IoT value chain there that we have. And I will spend a little bit more time only on this one. As highlighted, you will then have your, your dashboard that shows how the tool is used and so on. So I have up to about 12 of these use cases that are using the similar type of format that you can go through them. When you get the slides, so this is the asset tracking, which is the most popular from many different studies. And then you can have the other ones that is called the image quality control. In our pilot project, one of the SMMEs that we are working with has highlighted that this image quality control will actually be the use case that they want. We haven't implemented it yet. There's also a production process optimization, and this is now when you understand how the tools are used and how everybody's using that, but you add the machine learning on top of the asset tracking that you already have. So there are many of them. You process scanners. You can just have a general sensing, and the telemetry and power consumption analysis. That's quite important. I suppose these days, what is more important is to make sure that you are not in load shedding. You have a backup more than to understand how you are using that power. But when the power is stable, the biggest issue is, am I using it efficiently? And this is what this particular one is focusing on. So there are others like water distribution. I'm sure these ones, the municipalities are quite interested in the water distribution monitoring and so on, as well as the trading. And this is more important for those who trade across the borders a lot. Or even across the borders of the provinces, long distance trading. Those are the use cases that I have. As I said, because we are going to share the a PDF version of the slides, you can engage with those, and we will be open to engage. Even if you can call us back, we can be back there. So I want to just at this particular stage tell you a little bit about the pilot that we have run, and the way we work as the Center for the C4IR is that our center it just basically creates the partnerships between the government entities as well as the private sector, for us to look at a better way of enabling the use of these particular technologies, whether that better use is to create standards, or is to create new policies, or it's simply to make information available to those that may need it and create those online platforms. That's basically what we focus on. And we looked at those different use cases and move them further. So this use case that we have implemented, it's in a sense asset tracking, but it's mostly just understanding the performance of the machines as a next step towards the predictive maintenance work. So there's the first aspect of the what has been piloted now is, the alarm aggregations, which the impact of it will be the reduction in terms of reaction time for alarms. So it's there are about 3 companies that had been participating in the pilot that have implemented that. It is what is called the maintenance system, that is supported by one of our partners, where they follow up in terms of their own maintenance. They have scheduled maintenance tasks, and if they are not doing that, they get alarms. If something is out of the norm, they get the alarms and they can aggregate those alarms. The second thing was to implement the sensors in the factory and attach them to machinery, which then creates the dashboard that monitor the overall equipment efficiency. And you can be able to then have a better understanding and transparency of the machine status. But our partner has implemented the bigger part that I'm highlighting now. Is this part that I have here that I just highlighted. They have implemented this, this platform, and have made it available to all our SMMEs. So that's how we then start to make an impact on that. So I'll show you a screen of data that came in after the first 3 weeks. And I think my colleague who's on the call here was with me when we were engaging with the team here. We are about to go and get additional screens from those. But what we have is that you can now have a dashboard that shows the productivity of your machinery, as well as the maintenance status. And it can tell you whether your maintenance is good, is excellent, is poor, is in danger. Before you ask me whether Eskom has this, I don't know. I haven't engaged with them at this particular stage, but every time I present, someone asks me about Eskom. And I don't understand why everybody asks about that. So the pictures that you see here, this is just a simple sensor, which then measures vibrations across different axes. And you can be able to get that information and send it through to the cloud system. And after those few weeks, the users are beginning to see that they actually end up understanding what is happening in their factories. They don't need to be there to monitor people, but they can actually figure out what is happening in their factory. So they have a better visibility by using that. So these are some of the things that are happening on them. It actually does say that you don't have to go and you can retrofit these things onto the existing equipment as opposed to you going back and ordering new stuff. So this is basically where we are at this point, and we are piloting that. And as I said, we are still monitoring the pilot. And what I wanted to end up with is just to say, okay, so here you have a pilot that is being done with the people that are manufacturing, and you are monitoring their machines, and they're beginning to see how the Internet of Things gets incorporated in increasing the efficiency of their system. So what then is the opportunity for those who are in computer science that are not actually the manufacturers or in agriculture? I want to perhaps maybe highlight 2 things and why that would be important. We conducted a survey, and this survey we did with a number of countries. It was about 6 countries in Asia and South America, as well as some in Eastern Europe, and ourselves here. And when we interviewed the SMMEs, and most of them had said, they had indicated the number of, the technologies that they were considering before COVID. Now, the important thing is that before COVID, if you looked at the popular technologies that they wanted, most of them were looking at the, enterprise systems or the manufacturing systems. There were those that were looking at wearables, and others were looking at the cloud technologies. Those were the top ones that you had prior to COVID. During COVID in 2021, that had shifted. A greater majority of them started to look at IoT, and the cloud technologies increased. The use of big data as well as artificial intelligence were now the top four. So there is a shift, and this shift was caused by the fact that during the height of COVID, people could not be in the factories, and when they were in the factories, we had to reduce the number of people to increase social distancing. So you actually need technology more to help you to do that than you needed before. But the second thing that I want to highlight is on the barriers for implementation. Now that you have more awareness and you want to do this, you have interest in doing this. But what are the barriers? Now, financial constraints is one of the barriers. But one of the other barriers is the lack of skilled labor and the availability of the digital technology. And this is where this core group comes in, because you have been trained in the initial use of the technologies, as well as creating some of those tools. So this is where there is a need for people to come on board. And what we are doing as a center is to create a way in which it can be easier for you to get into that particular stage. By creating the partnerships. Now, we have actually reached a partnership agreement with one of the companies that have a platform. So it's actually a platform-based, type of model. They have agreed to expose the APIs on their platforms to the startups and the entrepreneurs that may want to come on board, where you then have manufacturing companies which will then install the sensors and move the data from there onto their cloud platform, and they will get the people who will now actually sell the services to those companies that will then build the analytics, bring in the AI capability on that, and then sell the services on top of that. And as you can see, it's many of them on the manufacturing companies there. They are actually orchestrating these particular services. So this is where there's an opportunity to create that particular stream of new players that can come in and develop the solutions that will drive the digital transformation across the whole set of areas. It could be manufacturing, but it could actually be in other areas. So this is what I have for you today. As I said, because I'm a little bit short of time, I might actually have to drop off now. So it could be good if there could be some of the questions. I don't know if there has been some already.
Yes, thank you so much, Doc. That was a very informative presentation there. You gave us definitions, so that we can all be on the same page. You told us some of the things that you do, and then you have rounded off by giving us opportunities in the perspective of our students. Now, there have been a few questions that have come through for you, and I think there's three. The first one is just asking you just about programming. The partners that you work with that actually do the implementation, do you have any, comments or exposure to the kind of programming languages that they use to do these implementations? Then geographical information systems. Do you deal with any projects? Have you come across any projects that are in that space? And then also about data science. Do you have any projects that are making heavy use of analytics, analyzing information and statistics and all of that? Yeah, and then lastly, someone is just asking if you can share the presentation with our PR team. I think they would like to, probe further and digest the information that you've given. So I don't know if you'd like to touch on that, Doc, before we...
Okay. Yeah, no, thanks. Thanks, Doc. Let me, well, the last one is the easier one. I would PDF the presentation and then share it with the team. So that will be done. The GIS, and I suppose here you're talking about the CSIR in general and not necessarily our own small program. There's a heavy use of GIS and the CSIR for many applications. One of them, it's the application that track, and predicts where the wildfires would be. It has a heavy use of the GIS data as well as the satellite data, combines that, and also have use of understanding the type of vegetation across the areas that are usually in danger of fire, and do the modeling to enable you to say this today, because of the weather today, and the kind of condition in this particular area, there's a high probability that there might be fire there, and so on. So there are a number of those that are there at the CSIR that I use. I just use that as an example, but there are many others that I use heavy use of the GIS. And I see that one of the issues is very specific in terms of the programming. I am aware that a lot of the people use Python for programming, but I haven't actually, in this particular case, with the current partner that we have that is enabling people to come onto their platform, whether they are actually using Python or which language they are using. But I would suppose that a combination of Python and other languages may be something that is used there, which may lead to the other technical one around the data science. So yes, at the CSIR, we do use a lot of data analytics. In fact, in this particular presentation that I'm just having here, in terms of where we have these partners, the data analytics is used a lot. I mean, this is where the data science people, most of the work that needs to be done here is it's around the data science type of work. But we have many programs. We actually have, as a group of people under an impact area that is focusing a lot more on machine learning as well as the data science. So it's a group of about 30 people that are focused squarely on the data science capabilities. So that's something that is available. If for those that may want to join the CSIR, that is there, and it's applicable across. And for those that may want to go into their own businesses, the data science capability, I can tell you there's a lot of this, and we can bring you on this platform, but there could be other opportunities across the industries on that.
Wow, thank you so much.
I think I hope I covered all of them.
Yes, you did. Thank you so much for your answers. Thank you for your presentation and your time. It's so interesting to hear that there's lots of stuff going on out there and the partnerships you have. And just a parting word from me is that please remember our students as we release you. There's lots of hungry students who are willing and ready to participate in some of these projects, whether it's via internships, whether it's via actual projects that they do at honors or masters. So just a request from our side as UKZN to say we're ready to partner with you. and just strengthen the initiatives that you have. So thank you so much, Doc. And just on that note of opportunities for students, we'll move on to our next speaker, Ms. Angela Shumba, who will elaborate to us just in terms of the opportunities that are available for the Center for Fourth Industrial Revolution. So over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Let me just share my screen. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see your screen. It's not yet in, yes, presentation mode.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Afternoon, everyone. My name is Angela Shumba. I'm part of the Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution. I work with Dr. Ntsibane, and we're part of the South African Center. So in my presentation, I'm just going to look into two things. The first one is just an overview of who the center is and what we do. And the second thing is just the opportunities that are within the center for the students. So just do this. Okay. So the center is part of the World Economic Forum, and it's affiliated within the World Economic Forum, and there are around 16 centers globally. So what we do is that we work with these networks, and we also a multi-stakeholder hub. So the center was established in 2019. It's funded by the DSI, and it is hosted within the CSIR. So we are just part of the many programs that are in the CSIR. So the center's mandate within the country is just to be a voice so that people will be able to understand what is it that people can understand what 4IR is, and also to focus on technology governance. Because if you have the technology but without the governance, then there are issues that happen. You might have challenges, but in order for the challenges to be solved with 4IR solutions, we will need to have governance structures to ensure that the proper governance structures are adhered to. So there's an agent call to ensure that there is technology governance, there is adoption of the technology, and the implementation of the technology within the country. So that's what the center is doing at the moment. So as you understand, the 4IR has got different components, but the center is not working on all the technologies. So the 4 technologies that we are focused on is IoT, blockchain, AI, and also data policy. And the 3 impact areas that we look into is closing the digital divide. So the first one is the one that Dr. Ntsibane was talking about, where he spoke about the acceleration of IoT adoption by the SMMEs. So as he highlighted already, we're working with the automotive sector to just try and pilot the project before we can upscale it to other sectors within the country. And then the second one is just to look into boosting the Industry 4.0. So that's where we are planning to upscale to different sectors. So the first one is just manufacturing. Looking into manufacturing, we're looking into agro-processing, where the 4IR can be used to transform that sector. And then the second one is energy. When it comes to energy, we're looking into green energy. We can act as maybe an agency to certify the green energy technology within the country. And then the last one is just to transition to data-based digital economy. It's just to ensure that the country as well is competing with other countries in terms of 4IR. So that's why we're looking into digital identity, AI, also looking at cybersecurity. Those are some of the different things that we're looking into. So as you understand, each project will have an outcome. So some of the outcomes that we're looking into is just ensure that there is a responsibility when this technology is adopted within the country, regardless of the sector that is going to be used in, and also to just accelerate the adoption of technologies, most importantly by the SMMEs, because those are the guys that are more disadvantaged. So we're trying to include them, not exclude them. And then the other thing is just to ensure that the processes within the different sectors become more efficient, and the companies will be able to be productive and increase their profit as well. Another thing is just for financial results. We all know that you cannot have a business that's not having profits. So just to try and ensure that you don't have any losses within the business that you are in. And just to also be competitive internationally. So you'll be able to adopt to what other countries are adopting as well. And also just to update the current policies that we have. But if there's a policy that is not available, so we're able to ensure that there is a new policy that is introduced as a framework to ensure that that technology is introduced into the country through our governance frameworks. So these are just some of the outputs that the center does during our different projects. So some of the outputs in terms of the knowledge, it could be insights, white papers, and this is where we work with different industries. As I said, that we're a multi-stakeholder hub. So it means that we work with the private sector, we work with the public sector, and also academia. So once we have worked on a project together, these are the different outputs that we can have. So some of the outputs that we can have as well are just standard operating procedures for a specific industry. So if it means if we're working on automotive, then it means we'll have our industry standards for the automotive sector. And then also the policy protocols that can be used within the specific sector, and also just a roadmap to just assist the industry to just maybe adopt the specific digital transformation technology that they're trying to implement. So currently in the center, there are a few projects that we're working on and some that are in the pipeline. So the first one is just accelerating the impact of IoT technologies, just focusing on the automotive manufacturing sector. And then also there are other ones that are in the pipeline. I'm not going to focus a lot just because I'm just looking at the time. We don't have enough time, but I'm going to share the presentation with you. Then you can just go through them. And then if you have any questions, you can send me an email. And then as the center, we've got 4 strategic objectives. I'm not going to focus on all 4 of them. I'm just going to focus on the last one. As a center, we're just trying to be a hub for mobilizing resources, just to assist the students as well. So for the students, what we're trying to do, we're trying to create a hub for the public-private collaboration. And what we're trying to do, we're trying to bring a massive opportunity for these employees within the public sector and the private sector, and also the higher education students, researchers, and the fellows. So what we're trying to do is just trying to create those networks so that the students can also be part of the different projects that we're doing, not just in our center, but also in the other C4IR networks that we work with. So I'm just going, the next thing is just the student opportunities that we offer. So the first fellowship that we have is the Center Fellows. So the Center Fellows are fellows that will be working within the center on a specific project. So it means that they will be situated within the center, and they'll be assisting us with different projects, and they'll also be working with the World Economic Forum, depending on the project that they have. So that we have at the moment, at that current time. And if it's possible, they can also be based in one of our, they'll be based at the World Economic Forum. It could be one of the centers either in Tokyo or Colombia, depending on where the project is and what is happening in the project. So what the fellow will be doing, they'll just be aligned to the South African center and also be like an mediator between the center and the World Economic Center Forum. And then the second one is just the project fellows. So the project fellows are here for a specific project. So it means that if we have an IoT project, it means that that student will be focused on that IoT project. If it's AI, the student will only be focused on that specific project as well. And then the other one is the Young Academia Fellowship. So this is where there's an opportunity between the center, the university, and the World Economic Forum. So what happens here is that we'll have funding through one of our funders. For example, the Andrew Wolfman Fellowship, where they fund the students. This is a 2-year program. So it means that the student will have a supervisor from their specific university or institution, and then they'll be assisting them with the research, but they'll also be working within the center on that same project. And they'll also be affiliated to the World Economic Forum and be working with other fellows within the World Economic Forum or the C4IR networks. So this is one of the great opportunities that we have for the students. And then the project fellows is, when it comes to the length of the intake, it depends on how long the project will take. If it's a 2-year project, it means that the fellow will be there within the center for that specific time. And then the other thing with the project fellows is that some of them are not from academia, they're from the government or the private sector, where we bring them into the center. They learn a few things and then they go back to their respective workplaces where they try and implement everything that they have studied when they were in the center. And these are just some of the benefits for the fellowship programs. All the 3 different projects have the same benefits. But a critical one is just when you're working with a center, as I said, that there's 16 C4IR centers in the world. So it means that you won't just be working with South African fellows, but you'll also be introduced to other fellows in any of the centers globally. And another thing, you'll be able to meet industry leaders in the specific project that you'll be working on. So this would be a great opportunity for you to just work with one of the great leaders in your specific sector. And then the other thing is just that you're going to gain a practical experience, because this is not just a research, but you'll be able to implement what you're studying and also just getting insights as well from the regulators that we work with. And then the last one is just a lasting network of just connecting with other institutions globally, and also just cross-border sharing of information between yourself and all the other centers in the world. So thank you so much. If you need more information, you can send me an email. These are my contact details. And if you want more information on the center, that is our website. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Angela, for such an informative presentation. My eyes have been opened, and I'm sure the students' eyes have been opened as well. So many opportunities. You guys work with SMEs, you work with established enterprises. You also deal with policies and just the opportunities, young academic fellowship, project fellowship, center fellowships. It's good to know that there's lots of opportunities out there. Thank you very much for coming along. It's really awesome hearing from you. And next, we've got a presenter from CSIR this time. We know that the Center for Fourth Industrial Revolution is hosted by CSIR. And here to tell us more about CSIR is Katlego. And over to you, ma'am.
Right, thank you, Mal. I'm just gonna share my screen. Please let me know when you can see.
Yes, we can see it, and it's going to presentation mode. Yes, everything's fine.
Okay, I'm just trying to find a way to switch on my camera. Right. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Katlego Ramonai. I work at the Human Capital Development Office at the CSIR. We oversee programs such as your bursary programs and also internships and also in-service or work-integrated learning. So today I'm just going to provide an overview of the CSIR and also talk about the student opportunities. But because of time, I will just talk briefly about some of the slides. Okay. Right. So as the CSIR, we are mandated to provide research that will better the lives of South Africans. For example, research that will better our lives, like Dr. Ntsibane and Angela were talking about. C4IR and Internet of Things, those are some of the things that will better our lives in terms of technology. And we also have an act that governs us, which is the Scientific Research Council Act, number 46 of 1998, which was amended in 2014, and it is now Act 27. Right. The vision of the CSIR is we are accelerators of socio-economic prosperity in South Africa through leading innovation. And our mission is also to work collaboratively by innovating and localizing technologies while providing knowledge solutions for the inclusive and sustainable advancement in industry and society. We have our values that we live and abide by. We have a slogan for them. We call them the EPIC values. For excellence, we strive for excellence. We are people-centered. We care for people and also have a passion of innovating and improving their lives. We also value integrity, being honest and fair in terms of the work that we do. We like collaboration, which, for example, we are working with the hosted program, like Angela and Dr. Ntsibane did mention that they work in collaboration with the CSIR in terms of a hosted program. All right, and I'm gonna just talk about the research and development innovations that have been established at the CSIR that might have an impact of our everyday lives. The CSIR was involved in the COVID-19 solutions and interventions. You might have heard that the CSIR did invent the ventilators that were non-invasive during the COVID, when COVID was still rife. And we've co-developed COVID-19 test kits with Cape Bio. We've created additive manufacturing components, molds, face shields, hospital infrastructure and products for diverse fields. We've also installed more than 40 monitors to check airborne transmission risk in public health facilities in SA. And we've also worked and assisted the government in developing the electronic vaccination data system. Okay. We've also partnered and worked on the CSIR novel fingerprint system, which is tested in forensic mortuaries, just to acquire fingerprints of the corpses. And this is just to ensure that they speedily responses in terms of DNA and also fingerprints of the deceased. We do know that South Africa currently has backlog of that, and also just to conduct queries against local criminal record centers and identify victims or perpetrators of crime. We've also had the smart surveillance for safer correctional service facilities, where the CSIR has piloted a new camera-based imaging and alerting system for wide area surveillance and intrusion detection at the Department of Correctional and Service Facilities in Eastern Cape. This is just a monitor using radar to monitor movement detection and provide video images of from day and night cameras. Okay. And we've also worked with SMEs in providing affordable broadband for SA townships and also rural areas. We're also assisting a local SME to comply with the television white space regulations. Okay, and I'm just going to talk about the human capital development programs that we have. First, as the Human Capital Development Office, we strive to develop a sustainable pool of appropriately qualified individuals to connect to research and development, achieve quality researcher profile consistent with the world-class research and development organization. We also implement interventions that makes for a responsive and agile CSIR, which is a key role player in the national system of innovation. Okay, so our pipeline development programs that I've mentioned earlier, we do have learner support program. We have the CSR bursary program. We also have the graduate and training program. We have the inter-bursary support program, which funds masters, honors, and doctoral students. We also do have a postdoc program and another one in partnership with the NRF. In terms of the CSR bursary funds scarce areas. Each year we fund different areas depending on which areas are scarce within the CSIR. In order for someone to qualify for the bursary, if you're studying at the university, you need to have passed all your modules for the previous years you've completed your studies. And for high school learners who will be doing first year at university, they need to have passed English with level 5, math and physics with level 6. The bursary covers, for undergraduate to honors, we cover the registration fees, tuition fees, living allowance, meal allowance, one-top laptop allowance, a book allowance, vacation work. Vacation work only starts from second year upwards. We also have psychosocial support, which is where we have one-on-one meetings with our students just to touch base on how they're doing and also provide support in terms of their well-being. If someone does need to see a professional counselor, we do provide them with those services. And for masters and doctoral, we also cover registration fees, tuition fees, living allowance, and we also provide a one-top laptop. The bursary call opens annually in June on our website, www.csir.co.za. For this year, we were advertising for the academic year 2023. So next year we'll advertise for the academic year 2024. With the inter-bursary support program, the bursary program is in partnership with the Department of Science and Innovation, and the main aim is to develop key strategic areas identified in key departmental strategies. For eligibility, all students must be accepted or registered full-time to study at a South African university. International applicants are welcome to apply, and students must be intending to study for honors or fourth year engineering or postgraduate diploma. We no longer fund advanced diplomas. You must also be, if you want to study your master's or doctoral, we also do cover those study levels. And this bursary just covers your tuition fees, and you also receive a one-top laptop allowance. The advert is advertised in July, and you can apply online on our website, www.csir.co.za. And for you to qualify also for the inter-bursary support program, there is thematic areas that the bursary does fund. We do have areas in terms of artificial intelligence, data sciences, information technology, computer science, computer engineering, and also software development, to name a few. And we have studentship opportunities. The studentship program enables masters and doctoral students to obtain their qualification while based at the CSIR, and you work on projects that are aligned with the CSIR critical areas. The program is aimed at increasing research output at the CSIR while simultaneously providing students with the opportunity to obtain their master's and doctoral degree. This studentship only funds master's and doctoral studies. The benefits of the studentship program are that we pay for your registration, and also your tuition fees. You get training while you study. You must be you'll be temporarily employed at the CSIR with a monthly salary, and you're allocated time to also visit the university if you need to go do some work at the university. The opportunities are also advertised on our website, www.csir.co.za. The graduate in training program currently is just provided for our CSIR bursars once they've completed their studies, but we are looking into opening it up externally to accommodate external applicants also. And the graduate in training program offers students, it's sort of like an internship program. Once you're done with your studies, you get to work on CSIR projects, which you would have worked on during the vacation work period while you were at the CSIR. So you get to continue working on those projects. And you also get a laptop when you're part of the graduate in training program, a monthly salary, and you get to rotate within the CSIR, within the different clusters that we have, and you get professional registration with EXA, for example, if you are an engineer. And we also have the CSIR program, which is an internship. And for you to qualify, you need to have a national senior certificate or junior degree. The YES program covers a monthly stipend, online training, and psychosocial support. You're based at the CSIR or at one of our partnering SMEs. And the call opens annually in November on the Youth at Work website, which is www.sayouthatwork.com. Right. In terms of employment opportunities that we have at the CSIR, there is the CSIR internship, which offers an opportunity to graduates to gain 12 months working experience at the CSIR, and also just to grow your skills. And you need to have completed a degree for eligibility, and the duration is 1 year. Adverts are posted online on our CSIR website, and you apply online on www.csir.co.za. Okay, that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Katlego. That was an awesome presentation. It's interesting to hear how much CSIR has to offer. From my perspective, I would like to say a big thank you. You know, as academics, we benefit so much from CSIR. We've had the opportunity to supervise students that are sponsored by CSIR. So a heartfelt thank you. It makes a very huge difference. And I hope students are taking notes. There's so much you said there in terms of opportunities, you know, so a job well done to you. There's a few questions that have come through. I think those are were mainly directed at Angela and Dr. Ntsibane. I don't know if Angela is still here. Perhaps she can assist. There was a question from Rosemary, just asking about the opportunities that were flighted there. You know, the opportunities for young academics, I think, and the opportunities for project fellows, center fellows. You know, where are the calls for those made? Hi, Angela.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. So what happens with the fellowships? The first call is from the World Economic Forum. So they're the ones that will indicate how many fellows they need for specific projects and when they need them. At the current moment, we don't have any calls for the fellowships. The only call that we have had now is the Youth Economic Fellowship program from beginning of this year. So that is something that is being finalized with one of the institutions within the country. So what we do as well, the student is funded by a specific funder, and also the university as well. So it's just like a collaboration between the university, the center, and the funder. So that's why it's a 2-year program. And once there is another call for that program, we'll let you know. So what we'll do, we'll advertise all our fellowship programs on our website. and then at least you'll be able to apply. But at the current moment, the only one that was being done this year was the Young Academic Fellowship Program.
All right. Thank you so much. Friends, we've come to the end of our tech talk. I had promised that we would give an opportunity for audible questions. I can only take one. So if you want to have courage and raise your hand, please do so. And while we wait for that, I think there was another question there, Angela. You spoke about the automotive industry and some projects you're doing there. I think someone was from mechanical engineering, just wanting to find out a little bit more about that. Do you have scope for mechanical engineers joining in some of the projects that you do?
Okay, so the project he's talking about is the accelerating the adoption of IoT by SMMEs. So that project was more focused on the automotive sector, and we're working specifically with the SMMEs, not like intaking students for that. So we're just trying to pilot the project and see if there is how the SMMEs are going to adopt IoT, and what are those what are the advantages that they will get when they're adopting the IoT. So when it comes to the students, unfortunately, there wasn't any call for any mechanical engineering students. But if there is a call in our next project, we'll let them know that they can be part of that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I didn't see any hands go up. But there's just one question that came through. I'll encourage students to apply. Well done. Rosemary, do you want to unmute? And was that comment coming from you? That comment, yes, came from Rosemary. Rosemary, can we hear from you? If you're able to, you've got a testimony to share with us there. Oh, you can't unmute. Okay. So Rosemary says that she had a bursary for her BSc degree and honors, and worked over the VACs, and then for 4 years, so here you go, somebody testifying, saying they've been through it and they recommend. So thank you so much, Rosemary. Mandlenkosi, you are our lucky person to speak to our guests audibly. Please go for it. Hi, Mandlenkosi, are you able to unmute? Ntlatlapa, are you able to give our students the ability to unmute themselves?
Oh, okay. Yes, thank you so much. Oh, yes. Actually, for me, I've just completed the mechanical engineering in June at UKZN. So my concern was that there's limited opportunities in South Africa, especially for automotive opportunities to work in this IoT industry. So I wanted to ask, maybe if one knows where can we go about to find those opportunities. We even don't mind now going overseas if possible. If there are those opportunities like that, if someone can, yes, thank you.
Thanks. I don't know, ladies, if you would be in a position to give some guidance there in terms of opportunities for some of our engineers.
I think Angela would be best to advise with that regard.
One thing that, yes, go for it, Angela.
Okay, that's fine. So what I can say, our center is more of a technology governance center. We don't do research or implementation or development of the technology. We're more into data policy. So as a mechanic, I understand that you'll be looking more into the technical work that involves IoT. Am I correct? Was it Mandlenkosi that I was talking to?
I believe so. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, so that is more, I think, more technical. And the center focuses on the technology governance of the technology, not the research and development.
All right. Thanks so much, Angela. There. Just a challenge, Mandlenkosi there. There's Dr. Ntsibane there told us about opportunities for entrepreneurship. You know, that could be an avenue. You know, if you get a hold of the slides, just look at the details that we provided there. There could be some space, you know, in terms of you creating a new avenue for other students. So thanks a lot, everyone. Unfortunately, I have to stop the questions there. Please, I hope you took down details. There would be opportunity for you to liaise with our guests via the details that they've provided. Unfortunately, we are over time. We've come to the end of the presentations, where I would like to say thank you once again to our students for joining, for listening in, showing enthusiasm, taking ownership of your development. Also to our guests from CSIR, from C4IR. Thank you so much, Angela. Thank you, Katlego. Thank you, Dr. Ntsibane, for coming along. Exciting to hear about the opportunities you have. We look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you, everyone. Just to invite you to our next Tech Talk, which I believe will be coming up in a few weeks' time, and that is, I believe, with MinTech. And also there's other talks, industry talks that are happening to the wider university college, to the wider university community. So all students are welcome. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I wish you all a good afternoon. Take care.